manager, and then we'll meet a series of our experts on our city team. We have our parks tonight, Shane Mize and Jeff Ashay, our parks department, Rhonda McClendon, our PAWS director, and Terry Toledo, she's our director of management services, and then on the boards, if we need backup, many of our team. We have hired WSB, and they'll introduce themselves here in just a moment to help us to facilitate and move through the bond process, and then help us answer any questions you all might have. So thank you again for joining us, and with that, I'll pass it over to Ange.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angela Points. You can just call me Ange. I'm with WSB. We're going to do some introductions. We're going to go quickly through purpose and goals, what success looks like tonight, and how we get there, and then we're going to jump right into parks and facilities. So without further ado, just real quick, again, I'm Angela. I am a civil engineer. I've got experience from design to actually being director of public works, city engineer, and managing operations and maintenance at a military base. So kind of across the gamut. I'm super excited to be here with you, and you'll get to hear a little bit more from me, but I'm going to pass it to Jay and let him introduce himself. We're going to get rolling. We have a lot to do tonight.
Thanks, Ange, and she'll do a great job of keeping us on task. She has to do it with me every day, but I'm really happy to be here. My name's Jay Kennedy. I've been working with cities for about 30 years now, either planning or building or helping figure out how to pay for capital improvement programs. And so processes like this are something that I've been part of for a long, long time, whether it's bond funded or not. And just happy to be here supporting all of you all as you think through and work through all the projects that will be talked about here starting tonight.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay. My name is Ryan Earp, Director of Public Engagement, and community outreach is my thing. Been doing communications and outreach for about 20 years, and have been a part of some really great projects over that time at a variety of local government levels and with private sector as well. So I'm super excited to be working with you all and getting things kicked off tonight. And yeah, look forward to walking through the next several slides. Are we ready to jump in?
Let's go for it.
Okay, so we're going to get started with some committee member introductions, but I have a little exercise to go along with that. Over the next few slides, we're going to go through a reflective process to help frame up your values, your purpose, your vision, and mission as a committee and as a member of that committee. We're not going to spend all night with it because we do have a lot to get through, but I think you'll find even at a higher level or a lighter touch that we're doing tonight, that you'll find it's something that we can center on and carry forward through this process. So to start, I do want to do some introductions and a little values warm up here. So on this slide, you'll see just a simple sentence that says, "I joined this committee because." I want you to think about that for a moment. And what you use to answer, that begins to pull at what you value and what you hold as important. Responses are likely different from each other, right? And that's okay. But how you finish that statement helps to define your why, your purpose, and as you serve on the Bond Advisory Committee. So for our introductions today, I'd like everyone to share your name, your connection to the community, and share why in one or two sentences, what your why is. I joined the community because. So for example, my name is Ryan Earp. I actually have a multi-generational connection to Pflugerville. My brother's in-laws live in the area and work at Pflugerville Public Schools. And so it is through my brother and his extended family that the future of Pflugerville is important to me. And I joined this committee because I care about safety, growth, and opportunities for youth. Or it could be for you because you want to help shape the future for the city. You have maybe a passion for parks, facilities, or transportation. Or because you feel that residents deserve a clear, transparent process and a real voice in big decisions like this. So, who wants to start? Jesse, would you like to?
Sure. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jesse Plaza. My connection is that I live here. My wife and I bought a house, probably our first and only, about 4 years ago, so we haven't been in the community terribly long, but I joined this committee because I love to complain. But my idea of civic participation is that the doing stuff, trying to make things better, is what entitles one to complain. So if I wanted to do that, I got to do this, right?
Very good. Saeed, sorry I skipped you.
No, you were perfectly fine. My name is Syed Kazmi. I joined this committee because I pretty much do something similar at work. So I'm a project manager, so a lot of the projects that are coming through, I get to oversee, I get to decide, okay, yes, it's going to be feasible, it's worth it or not, and what can we do to make it better, and if not, find other solutions around it. So
And you joined this committee because?
for that reason,
Yeah.
because I have project management experience, and because I'm part of this community,
Love it.
moved here 9 years ago, just
Yeah.
trying to play my part.
Very good.
Eric Lindberger. I've lived in Pflugerville for 23 years, and I joined the committee because, you touched on a little bit about the transparency and, making sure that there's value in what's being asked and of the taxpayer. I just want to be a good advocate in that respect.
I'm Dennis Spencer. I've lived here in Pflugerville for 25 plus years. I joined this committee because when I care about shaping the future of Pflugerville, I care about transportation, really specifically, and I like to complain too.
Motivation. Melissa.
My name is Melissa Paul. I've been in Pflugerville for over 30 years. I don't know how much time do you give us really to say this?
Not long, got a lot.
Okay, so
We got a lot to do.
I'm president of the Pflugerville Arts Council. We produce classical concerts, the first night of Memphis, up to 35 concerts in the past 10 years. I've just taken down one art show at the library, and I'm putting another one this Friday. These art shows at Texas State University alongside Round Rock Arts and Georgetown Arts for all collaborative. I was on the Worship Fest team for about 10 years doing music on stage. And so you can probably guess why I'm here. I'm glad to be able to facilitate a performing arts center and a professional art gallery, that type of thing, and bring some art tourism.
Thanks, Melissa. Lucas.
So y'all, I'm Lucas Myers. I moved here about 5 years ago, purchased our first home. Got a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old going to school here, so I imagine we'll be here for a long time. I also have a wife that's a first grade teacher at Pflugerville ISD, so I'm pretty invested, and as you start going to more things around town, you start running the same people over and over. Some of those people for me were on city council, and they told me that they needed people for this, so I thought, sure.
Great. Thanks, Lucas. Mark?
I'm Mark Epstein. I've been here 12 years and been in Travis County about almost 2 decades. But we decided we moved from Travis Country to here because we figured we could retire here because it was affordable and it looked like a good place to live. This committee specifically, I guess my interest probably goes to even though I'm retired now, I either worked in government or consulted to government in your chairs for 30 to 40 years. And so my interest is, be honest with you, I don't have an agenda. I'm interested in what is best for Pflugerville, and both in terms of what's affordable, but also what its future needs to look like.
Thank you, Mark. Christine?
Hi there, I'm Chris, and I am actually coming up on my 2nd anniversary of being here in Pflugerville. I bought a house up here, and when I made the decision to move here, I made a very conscious decision that I wanted to also be active in the community. I joined I'm on the Finance and Budget Committee, and I'm doing PF 101 with a couple other folks here. And apparently that was enough for the mayor to volunteer me for this as well. I kind of joked about it, but honestly, I think there are a lot of valuable topics here. I think it's important to have different viewpoints, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to participate in that process.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah.
My name is Lisa. My name is Lisa Jacobs. I've been here for like over a year now, and one of the decisions why I moved down to Pflugerville was I kind of did some research and I found out that Pflugerville is it's more safer than most of the cities around and is fast developing. And one of the reasons why I want to be part of this committee is because I want to be part of the growth and development of the community.
Thank you.
My name is Noelle. I've lived in Pflugerville for 7 years. I have 2 kids that go to school here, so I'm interested in how the community is going to grow and change. And I work for the state. I've always been really interested in politics, so I just like being involved and figuring out how everything works and why things are the way they are.
And any other committee members? That's it. Okay. Perfect. So, as you heard, lots of different reasons why we're all here, but also share some similar kind of stories in that I heard so much passion from each of your perspectives and what you bring to the table, and so I think that's definitely a common thread as we move forward here. So, the first exercise, actually, I guess this is the second exercise. We're moving to a vision wall. So the next question I'd like each of you to think about is, at the end of this process, what do I want to see? Okay, or put another way, what is the one outcome that would make this bond process successful for you? Try to think at an outcomes level versus getting down into a project-specific level at this point. So, for example, it could be that you want to see that residents feel well-informed as a committee member, that you want to be able to clearly explain the projects that we recommend and feel comfortable explaining what those projects are and the benefits of those projects to community members. Or it could be that you want to see that the bond benefits the whole community, right? Some different examples there. So, at each of your spots, there are 3 sticky notes. You can use 1, 2, or 3, but take a moment to answer that. What do I want to see? And this is going to be our vision wall. And if you could separate the responses, 1 response per sticky, and when you're done, we'll put them up on the window up there, and we'll review them together. So big picture statements about what success looks like. What's your vision? What do you want to see? If you're done, Angela and I can take your stickies, get them up on the wall.
They actually just come in.
Maybe not.
I have it, so I'll take any of the ears.
I'm not sure that we can.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so as the stickies came up here, we tried to organize them in some different categories here, and we have some distinct themes that I think it's important to call out. So off to the left here, there was some conversation about cost, fiscally responsible investments, a better understanding of how the funds are spread, how it will benefit the community. On this side, it was more of a maybe a higher level picture. They wanted clear vision, a well-measured set of bonds that we can be proud of. I want to see a clear, defined vision and a solution for community growth, a transparent process. I want to be enthusiastic about the city future and upcoming projects. A Pflugerville built to the future. So very, very visionary. I'll put this one back up here on maybe the fiscal impact. A clear understanding of the fiscal impact, and taking into consideration, I think, the long-term debt. Projects that benefit the community. Focus on. Okay, so down here I saw some specific call-outs to maybe some projects. A focus on quality and entertainment for families. Increasing tourism to utilize funds.
Hot fund.
Thank you. Yeah. That's a compelling vision. We'll put that up there. I would like to clearly understand how to explain the funding. A cohesive identity to Pflugerville, recognizable across the state. So kind of three buckets I see. There's the financial side, there's a vision for the future, I think, and some specific project goals here. So thank you for sharing what that vision is. And we'll continue to come back to that as goals in the process. But my third and final activity here, we can pivot here to our mission wall. And I'll turn this around. And so we don't have a lot of time to maybe set or wordsmith a clear mission for our group. But as we've defined our values, our personal values as we went around the table, as we noted some of the vision that we have for the process, the next step is our mission. What, as a bond committee, advisory committee, what is our mission through this process? And so to help, we have something started here. The mission of the bond advisory committee is to recommend a 2026 bond program that blank, 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 and reflects the priorities of the Pflugerville community. So there was a lot of really good ideas on the vision wall, but are there maybe 2 or 3 priorities that you would bring forward as a group to help define our mission?
Are you talking about just generic words like identifies, promotes, that type of thing? Because when I read the word reflects, that's kind of a generic word.
Sure, yeah. That could be a little generic. It could be, I heard the word transparency up there, that is a transparent process or follows a transparent process. Some of the other kind of values that were shared on the wall. Yeah.
So I'm not sure on the third one, but somebody here is going to have a brilliant idea. But I was going to say a bond program that is inclusive and transparent, fiscally responsible, And that third bucket needs to speak to that long-term growth, community engagement, something that's the one that seems to be a theme for everything.
That's a great start. Let's put this here.
Ryan,
Drop that down.
why wouldn't we put before you hit the 3, why wouldn't you put the last sentence first? Which is,
We could.
in other words, it's got to be the priorities of the Pflugerville community and,
I like that. Yeah.
Recommend it, you know.
Yeah.
because if it's not the Pflugerville priorities of the Pflugerville community, what are we doing here?
Chris, I want to capture your comments here. You had.
So I had inclusive and transparent, comma, fiscally responsible. And the third magic bucket is the whole, kind of encompasses that, I guess, long-term strategic growth.
Well, I was gonna say.
Sorry, go. You have it, I know you do. I can feel it.
I was actually gonna say, reading the statement, I was just gonna go with 2026 bond, just everything, but I'm just starting from there. What you put there is okay. So I was gonna say 2026 bond program that defines vision and solution and reflects the priority of the Pflugerville community. Defines vision and solution.
This is something, folks, that we can come back to as we move forward through this process. Are there any other ideas here tonight? And we can bring this back.
I don't know in which of the 3 blocks to put it, but probably improve city services. We could do something inclusively and transparently, fitting a priority, but if it doesn't make anything better, why do it?
Any heartburn on these? Seeing that we can share this moving forward, and like I said, we'll continue to tweak it as we go.
Definitely. I think this was great. So we've been through the exercise, so how do we get there? So this is what tonight's going to look like. Myself and staff are going to present some projects to you. Every project that we present to you, we feel is very well suited for a 2026 bond election. The city, you all have amazing strategic plans, master plans, a vision for your city. It is a well thought out city, a vision for how to address growth and to take care of your current ratepayers. And you have about $2.2 billion in your CIP, and we are talking about a very small smidget of that, but very, very important and impactful projects. So tonight we are talking about 5 park projects and 1 facility project. And the value of those tonight totals up to about $80 million. We are here tonight to look at these projects, evaluate them. We are not here to approve or disapprove. You are here to view these projects in these visions that you have for your city and through this mission. So look through these projects with that in mind, with your neighbors and your family, and how they would support these projects. It is our job as staff and myself to help explain the projects, how they fit with the city's strategic plan, how it fits things like safety, how it is a visionary for your city, and to help create some enthusiasm for these projects. So we're going to jump in here very soon, but I want to let you know we're going to present all of the projects, and then at the end we are going to evaluate those by a set of criteria. Tonight again is only parks and facilities. The next meeting in 2 weeks is going to be transportation in downtown. That one's going to be pretty packed and pretty exciting, especially for those who are passionate about transportation. There is a cost to this, right? There's also a cost to not do this. So in meeting number 3, that's really where we're going to start talking about the dollars. and what is that impact to our community, and talking about options that we have for that. So don't feel like we have to solve that tonight. Tonight is just an evaluation of parks and facilities, okay? And after that April meeting, we'll have a little bit more time to digest, talk to a little bit more of our stakeholders, and then in our May meeting, that's where we'll come together as a committee and feel good about what we're going to recommend to council, and council ultimately has the ultimate decision on what takes forward in the November election. So let's do this. So in front of you, you've got a couple of packets. You've obviously seen the PowerPoint, but you also have a larger packet with your name on it. This is a set of criteria that we are going to view projects, and we're doing this in a transparent, consistent, and objective way. So every project is going to be based and scored on this criteria, and you all will be doing the scoring at the very end. And at the beginning, you've got a note page. The first project we're going to talk about is Destination Play Space. You are welcome to write notes on here. You don't have to. And then at the next page, we'll have the set of criteria. Some of you are more big picture, and you like just the buckets. We're going to be scoring on buckets, 4 buckets: strategic alignment, feasibility and confidence, community and stakeholder benefit, equity and safety. If you're a lot more like me and you want to know exactly what I'm thinking about, you've got a lot more detail in here. So feel free to peruse in here. What does strategic alignment mean? What is long-term positioning, etc. So again, every project we want to make sure is aligned with the city's vision and planning. And you can ask yourself, does this set up my city for long-term positioning? Whether that is growth, whether that's sustainability. Is this project part of my connected smart city? Is it part of a dig once? So we don't want to build a road and have to come in and build a brand new wastewater line right in between it, right? That makes absolutely no sense. So we want to make sure we're thinking about that. Maybe not diving into all the little details, but just making sure we're thinking of that as a group. The second bucket is feasibility and confidence. Do we think the project is feasible? Are we confident in the project? Do we think the timing is right for the project? Do we think the project is ready to be part of a bond project? What about land? Do we have it? Do we need it? What about utilities? And then what are the costs? Do we feel confident in the costs? Do we feel like there's other supplements we can maybe kickstart? If it was funded by the bond, maybe it's a kickstart for a grant. I mean, those are great things to be thinking about. And what are the risks? I will say on this one, a lot of times complicated projects are included in a bond program because they're complicated and you can tackle them with the bond program. If they were a small project, $50,000, $100,000, this team would have already gotten it done. A lot of times the bond funds are larger so that you can tackle more of the complicated things to give it, off center. The third bucket is community and stakeholder. Do you think your neighbors are going to support it at the bond election? Do you think there's enough enthusiasm for it? Do you think they're going to think it's safe, that it improves safety, that it's good for the kids? Is it going to promote tourism? Is it going to be good for the business owner and the resident? Okay. Equity and safety. A lot of times bond programs, you've got bonds all across your city, which is a great thing. And we want it to be equitable. But I'm also going to say at the same time, if you've got parts of your city that really need a little bit of love, this is also fine for bond programs to be focused on one side of your city. So just think about that, what that means for you as a committee. Do you want it to be equal across the city? Do you want it to be dispersed? Do you want it to be just in one part of the city? Just something for you all to think about. And safety and compliance doesn't improve safety in your city. Obviously, we have a very large $80 million street project. It's got to improve the safety of the traveling public. So think of those things, okay? So that's a lot to digest, but I think it'll make more sense as we get into the projects. So again, we're going to talk about 5 parks projects. 3 of them are location specific. 2 of them are citywide, okay? So first, we're going to talk about Destination Play Space, Phase 2 in Bulls Park. You all are tackling Phase 1 right now with the 2020 bond. Phase 2 is advancing that and keeping the momentum going. Phase 2, you guys are really going to have a destination playground, play area for kids and folks of all abilities. It is very much aligned with your strategic plan. It is very much aligned with your Aspire Pflugerville 2040 by promoting inclusive recreation, accessible and safe for people of all types of disabilities. And it hits all of your master plans. The budget we would put on this project would be $12.8 million. There is support from the Pflugerville Parks Foundation. You have the land you need. You need design and construction dollars to continue to advance this park, to really make it a place for Pflugerville to be known. It's going to puts Pflugerville on the map. There are floodplain considerations, like with many of our projects, but no, like parks are really great to be put in floodplains because you're not putting houses and businesses. We are aware of some road improvements, wastewater interceptors coming through, and there's some topography on the park land, but that's part of the beauty of Destination Play Space, is to use that topography to the park's advantage. As far as community stakeholder, we feel like this one's an easy one to sell. We feel like the community would benefit from it, and they would think it's a safe, obviously, accommodating folks of all abilities with an all-terrain play. So I want, as we present these projects, we have about 10 minutes per project. This is a time for us to talk about it. You ask questions, you talk about concerns. We want to hear from you because not only will the scores help us kind of rank and file projects, but your input will as well. And we have staff here if they would like to add anything about the project to help you all understand what this would be.
What's the time frame on this one?
Say it one more time.
Time frame.
Time frame,
The completion.
great question. So right now, phase 1 is about to be under design. So when the funding would be approved, I would assume we would be trying for that next phase of design. And so it might take, 12, 18 months to design?
Design, yeah, 18 months is fair. When you think of the All Abilities Play Park in Round Rock, that's something everyone that has children in this close proximity knows a lot about. It's an incredible park for them. It's right under 20 acres. This spot's, I believe, 17 acres at its capacity. The All Abilities Play Park is something that's gone through multiple phases, and they're constantly adding phases of that, and that's kind of what we see the opportunity is here as well. And as you start to build a really good base, what you see with them is you're starting to see, I think, waste management just at their last phase. And so I think once you get proof of concept started, you've got this spot that the community loves. And it's in this spot that is really unique. Not even Round Rock will have what we have with this spot. If you think about it, if you know where Bulls Park is, or if you're able to look at the map, you have this great trail corridor that we're able to take advantage of that not every city has. And it's that trail corridor from, it's going up from Pecan, and ultimately it can connect the Northeast Metro and further on as development happens. But it's going to go up to Bowles, which is where this is at. And then within a quarter mile from this park will be the new Downtown East Center. And so there's a parking garage there, there's the rec center, City Hall, the plaza. They'll be continuing to see play value there. We'll have some play value immediately, not just with the plaza and the indoor playground, but with the temporary parking structure outside of the parking garage. And as you continue to matriculate down that or up that creek trail corridor system, you get right to Gilling Creek, which is where we have some outdoor fitness equipment, then the pool, which we've heavily invested in, Big Shady, which is the largest pecan tree in Travis County, 18th largest pecan tree in the state of Texas. We've done some work to protect that. You continue on to Pfluger Park, which just won the Lone Star Legacy Award for its service to this community over the last 50 years, and it just continues on. Goes to Finnig, Swenson Farms is a beautiful section, continues up to Windermere. And so you have this really incredible trail corridor that not very many cities have, and this would be right on it. And so this first investment that you are giving us in 2020 is only something that we believe the community is going to want to build on. And what we're hoping is the popularity of it will see this continue to adhere itself to this community. And possibly, like I said earlier, once we have an incredible proof of concept and a really good base, I think future phases could be potentially sponsored by local businesses.
I think, Shane, it is along the creek, but from an address perspective or street, it's on Emmanuel. So Emmanuel there at Pecans, if you haven't been to Bulls Park. That's where the property is located.
That park road, or that park property actually hits frontage all the way across the...
Does the trail from one side, one side of Pecan cross over?
It goes under.
It goes under, correct?
There's a safe passageway.
So there's connection from Bulls Park all the way to Grand Avenue without crossing streets. So it's easily accessible without having to get in a vehicle. Obviously, it'll be easily accessible from downtown in the rec center. And we sort of address it here, but it's not quite. I mean, obviously, one of the huge selling points of this is the all abilities piece of that, but it's also the all generations piece of this. So, you know, our thought, what you see in this picture is in downtown Cary, North Carolina, and there's several examples across the country of folks using space near what is their downtown, not big cities, but mid-sized communities using what is their downtown for park space like this that's more immersive, less stick a playground, bathroom, and a little bit of parking there, and trying to engage folks of all ages. You know, if any of you visited Central Park in New York City, yeah, there's kids playing on playgrounds. There's also walking groups of seniors. There's seniors playing board games and things like that. That's what the hope is of this facility, is that it's capturing the entirety of the population. It's not just kids, and it's not just kids with disabilities, which is a hugely important part of this, but it's literally everybody.
So how far is this from the new rec center?
Quarter mile.
Maybe.
So if you're that close, why not just use the rec center and put the whole disability piece into it?
There will be adaptable programs going on in the rec, and a really small indoor playground option for beat the heat type of days, or a parent or grandparent that maybe already is there and they're watching one kid while another kid's doing swimming lessons or things like that. That function will be happening, and there'll be some play value even in the plaza, but nothing destination-like. And what we've found is in cities that used to be bedroom communities like Pflugerville, and have continued to grow, there's an appetite still in some ways for you to travel to work to Austin, potentially. A lot of our residents travel a distance outside the city to work. You start to see over the years that you want your entertainment and your play value to be closer as well. So at one time, everyone that was in Pflugerville drove to Austin for food, entertainment, and play value, whatever that was. And you're starting to see these cities say, no, we can do that just as well. And so putting this type of destination play in, where adjacent to the new downtown east location, with the rec center and the city hall and the potential future retail that we're seeing come from that, is really a marker in the ground saying that, you know, first of all, everyone in Pflugerville can obviously stay, and we don't see leakage out to Round Rock and other cities on a Saturday or Sunday. But more importantly, we see it reversed. We see for the first time, instead of people continuing to go to a big park in Cedar Park or a big park in Round Rock, those people are going to come to our new park and visit our facilities and eat at our restaurants and visit our retail vendors. And so it's a destination play space that is as close as any we've seen to this investment in the downtown infrastructure as well.
What about the traffic? Sorry, go ahead.
We're tag teaming each other. So for phase 2, how much of the actual design is built out? Or if this passes, will the community have an opportunity to weigh in on that design?
100% get to weigh in on design.
Okay.
There's two ways you could do bond. We could design it now and y'all could see something that you could vote for sure, but then you'd have to front that number, right? So a $12.8 million park construction project design would be what?
1.28 or, yeah,
so
$2 million.
This group, you know, the tax base could front that in some capacity now, or if it passes, then this group gets, the city gets to be engaged in the public engagement process of designing that, you know, and so that's the direction we're going.
That would be included in the 12.8.
But what about the traffic? Because right now, that HEB intersection is a nightmare. With this thing being quarter of a mile away from your rec center, are you going to build the infrastructure first and make sure all the traffic is rightfully guided, or how's
that a manual road span right now?
Yeah, and vehicular access would still be on a manual road, so you wouldn't be accessing this from a vehicle from that side you wouldn't be accessing it from Pecan. You have the creek in between this park and Pecan. So you'd still go to a manual, which is seeing improvements right now and being widened. So there would be parking here. That's part of it too. Yep. There'd be additional parking off of a manual, not off of Pecan or that side of the.
So in your study,
you can walk the trail underground.
Yeah. So we have.
Well, but one of the things I just want to point out as we kind of look at these projects is that we were trying to be mindful of kind of how they're paired. And so while we're not talking about transportation tonight, 685 is a big component of the bond project that we'll cover next week, or at your next meeting. Because it's important that, to your point, that those things are discussed together, because it could be a traffic generator. And so 685, we also know, is a big driver for our community, as well as not only just for access to this part, but others. And so you'll see that kind of throughout the packages or projects that we put together for your consideration. 685, including that intersection, will be discussed at the next meeting.
So just one last question. Is it a possibility for you to say, okay, this 17 acres land, let's swap it out with some other piece of land in Pflugerville so we can spread out all these parks and rec centers? Or this is basically donated or given to the city?
Wouldn't be possible to the rec center because it's already vertical.
Correct.
Yeah, in City Hall. Council had the, we presented to council that we thought Bowles would be the best place for that. We're working on design right now. And so phase one of that destination play is happening at Bowles.
Can you explain phase one?
Yeah.
Well, a little bit. We haven't gotten into it with our design teams yet, but it's the exact same premise. So it's going to be largely design. It's going to be infrastructure improvements to add to what we have for phase two. With these two potentially coinciding on timeline, some of phase one might be phased, but you also might see delivery of this project on pretty similar timelines. Since this is, we're getting into design, it's going to be 12 months for design. By that time, we will know if this stays on bond and if it's approved. So phase one is probably going to be largely playscapes in that sort of middle area of Bowles Park, where you kind of see there's like if y'all are familiar with it, there's a DG trail right in the middle. That's going to be the first phase of development, is adding parking infrastructure to that, improving the restrooms.
And all abilities component.
The all abilities component. All the components that are mentioned here will still be in phase one. Phase two is expanding greatly on that, obviously.
Yeah, phase two is.
So what happens if this is not approved? What's going to happen to that area?
It's still going to have considerable play value. It's still going to be.
So is all the area there now, and you're just going to add in components
17 acres
to that area?
is there.
Yeah, and that's what's nice, is we own the land already.
Okay.
And so it's not, none of this
So it
is
could
land
just-
acquisition.
okay.
Yeah.
Is that where the Red Green Barn is? Give me perspective on.
No, it's the park that's almost adjacent to the old
So
recreation
you got
center.
the rec center, that little skate spot, and then further down near the creek is that Bowles Park with the loop trail.
Okay, I think we have time for just,
About 2 more minutes.
When was-
Okay, the first thing I was gonna say was just to compliment about the physically challenged, the people with disability that are being considered. You kind of have their interest in mind doing this. And my second question was the small mini, I have a strong H factor, Hall, HALL. So what is it about? Like, what is the city hall about?
City Hall?
Mm-hmm.
City Hall is, it's essentially where everything, city businesses, all city admin will be. This meeting would be in City Hall in the future, this
Oh.
city council. Emily may be able to speak a little bit more to the whole
Kind
scope
of
of
more
it.
of the administrative functions of the city. So where you pull permits, you pay your utility bills,
Okay.
and, city manager's office is there. Shane's working office is there, not.
No.
not- He doesn't want that, but that's the function of City Hall.
And not, we were just saying it was it was a quarter mile away. City
Yeah.
Hall will be a quarter mile away from this park. It's not part of this.
Okay. The reason why I asked was because should in case we're kind of like, we want the community to support us, right?
Mhm.
So if I know some people in my friends' community where they have like a city hall where people can, book the center for like a party or like a meetings and all that. That was one of the reasons why I asked, like, what would this mini hall be for? Thank you.
Yeah, that's that downtown portion, not the destination play. The downtown
Okay.
portion will have bookable spaces. Yeah, the rec center will have some rentable spaces. I think there's meeting spaces in both facilities. All that definitely.
Okay.
What's the difference between a pocket park and a destination park?
I'm sorry?
What's the difference between a pocket park and a destination park?
Pocket Park Obviously, it sounds like it refers to the size because pocket sounds like a very small spot. And there are most of the times where a pocket park is a
Right.
small park that a developer gave the city. Really, in a lot of ways, a pocket park for us is a park that doesn't have a restroom and a parking lot. So we actually have some big quote-unquote pocket parks because they are still parks.
Well, we've got Creekside, I mean, we've got all these little parks in neighborhoods.
And basically what we want you to think of when you think of pocket park is if you took your family to it.
Right.
And they had to go to the bathroom and you were within walking distance from your house, that's ideal. But if you had driven there and your child was to go to the bathroom, then you got to get them and load them up and drive somewhere else. And so regional parks or community parks are parks with a restroom and a parking lot. Those are the parks we want people going to. Pocket parks, regardless of their size, are small parks that are close to the neighborhood so that neighborhood can enjoy it. This will be a destination play. This will be a community space. It'll be a space that we're driving people to with restroom, parking lot, play value, etc.
And they come and they stay for a few hours. You know, it's
Yeah.
I was gentleman down here.
Noel, did you have a
No,
question? Okay,
And I wanted to
perfect.
answer, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go
I know we
ahead.
got to move, but Syed's kind of second part to his question is about sort of spreading the wealth here.
Not the bulk, just basically taking it away from.
The space, yeah, so that you're
Spreading
equally
it.
distributing it. So we're doing that really well. So if you look at a lot of our analytics on access to parks, we're on the high end in the state in terms of how far people live from a park, how far they live from the trail. So this is strategic in placement, and so those communities that I mentioned that have sort of turned these downtown parks, what they've also seen is, a lot of, to Shane's point about people wanting a lot more activities, restaurants, things here in town, these bring them in. So parks obviously have an economic impact on your home values and quality of life. These types of parks have direct return on investment because they will bring businesses that want to be close to these spaces. Because you might take your kids and your family to dinner and then you go across the street to one of these spaces. And so it's purposeful in why it's located in close to downtown.
It took us, it's a 60-year-old, Pflugerville's 60 years old. It took us 58 years or whatever to get to 1 million annual visits in our park system. So just 3 years ago, we hit 1 million annual park visits. Now we're over 2. So the amount of people using our park system in just the last couple of years has doubled to over 2 million annual visits. So to the point, do people want to go to Austin? No, they want play value here. They want their restaurants here. They want their enjoyment here. They want their entertainment here. They want their play value here. They don't want to have to drive to one of those incredible parks in downtown Austin and park and walk and get there so they can walk their dog or take their child and they can enjoy a park. They want those types of play amenities here.
Absolutely. I think that's a good segue to the next part. You guys are evaluating 1849 Park Phase 3. This is also, I believe, a destination in the region. Phase 3 is going to complete this park. This park has been master planned since 2016. You guys are working on Phase 2, and it is almost done, almost open. And Phase 3 there is a very clear vision for Phase 3. Phase 3 in 1849 would include completion of baseball and softball fields. It would have passive recreation, nature-based amenities, 2 youth baseball fields, a Miracle League baseball field for children with disabilities, a playground, a restroom with covered picnic seating, a large group pavilion, programmable outdoor learning space, wildflower and prairie preserves.
Hopefully not wild.
I know. Sorry, bad timing. Nature trails, tennis and pickleball courts, and a dog park. It is very clear. This is a very well thought out master plan. The scope of this project is very clear. There is, always room for adjustments, etc. But this project, I would deem, is very ready for execution. It's been in the CIP for quite some time, again, completing that master plan. There is an opportunity, we'll talk next time about Melbourne Lane as a potential bond project. So that goes on like the west side of the park. There's potential for some collaboration there between a large bond program. The proposed budget is $25.5 million. But we do have a really high confidence that this phase can be completed. You have the land, you need design, but you already know the amenities that would be going into this phase. And it is on the east side of Pflugerville, which is really great to provide this amazing amenity on that side of town. And it's expanding your equitable access to high-demand sports courts while providing that passive outdoor recreation. So Shane, Jeff, is there anything you want to add to this one?
We think parks are good.
Yeah.
Park's good.
There you go.
Blah, blah, blah.
Put that on it. Park's good.
For someone less versed in parks, can you explain what you guys mean by passive recreation?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's got more of a state park feel.
Okay.
You know, so a lot of so we're the Trail Capital of Texas. We'll get to trails in a minute. You know, and we were talking about road congestion. There's a quality of life component. You want to have 1 mile of trail for every 2,000 residents. Most cities don't get anywhere near that. We're 1.5 times that. We're almost 1.75 times that right now. So we have a lot of trails, and I think you talk to anyone in the city limits, they love our trails, they use our trails, and it's a pedestrian highway in some ways, but all of our trails are concrete trails, except for a couple, one being bowls that will be concreted through this upgrade. The lake is a DG trail, which is what we call decomposed granite. It's not decomposed or granite, but I don't know if that's why they call it that, but that's an industry term. But it's that running surface that runners love. But most of them are concrete. We don't have any, like Austin has or like state parks have, that are a lot more natural, that allow you to go off path. And this kind of passive area with some rewild locations where you can kind of just get away from even the more actively programmed parts of a park isn't something we necessarily offer. This would be our opportunity to offer something.
What is the acreage of 1849 Park?
330?
Yeah, about 330. It was the original Pfluger family's farm that they settled in 1849, which is how we get the name of the park.
Yeah, and we really like how this project will tie to Aspire Pflugerville to incorporate Pflugerville's history, agricultural heritage, and multicultural identity into the park. I think it's a really great opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I would just highlight too, this, you know, I think this community is pretty well familiar with 1849 because of the soccer fields, and we're putting 3 baseball fields in there now. That'll be completed soon. But this meets a lot of needs with one space. So tennis and pickleball's obviously popular. It's not going away. We're building our first 3 outdoor pickleball courts right now at Kelly Lane Park. And so this expands on that need. Going back to what Shane was just talking about with the passive recreation, we've got a lot of trails. We don't have a lot of single track nature trails for you to feel like you're hiking. We've got great recreational and transportation sort of vibe trails. This adds that. It also adds the 2 baseball fields and a Miracle League field. Could be used for t-ball. It also could be used for baseball and softball for kids with special needs. Adding that, so it's meeting a lot of needs with that. The rest of the space we have at 1849, finishing that park out.
And I think it'd be easy to look at and say, why can't you just do the destination play there?
Why can't you do it?
The destination play space there. So this is a huge, almost like a Central Park concept, right? And we will have play pockets. We have playgrounds that are near these sports facilities because we know that not every kid is playing at any one time. And so one of the toughest things to watch is the kid that's not playing, right? And for the next hour, you've got to entertain them. And so we have playgrounds at all of our sports complexes for those types of things. But just like we have a random field at one park, but that doesn't really make it a sports complex. We have play feature, play value here, but that doesn't make it a destination play space. And so this, you're going to see a lot of family programming and a lot of family opportunities, but it's not that spot where we're driving people for the playground. We're driving people for the pickleball courts, for the trails, for the sports complexes, et cetera, the ball fields. And so
We are not.
we're not driving. Yeah, we're driving to 2 different parks. Yeah, so we got 1,900 acres in our park system, and we want to use it all really well. And so this space is a real programmable space that has ball fields and could have tournaments and those types of things. And on a Saturday when you're having a tournament, as the destination place attendee, the last place you want to go to is that type of location, that type of active park for your destination play space as well. So that's why they're 2 separate spots.
different than all the existing fields over by the recycling center where there's already those sports?
It is in some ways, because that's a county park, so
Okay.
it's in city limits, but the Northeast Metro
Yeah.
is a Travis County park.
I see.
And so it's in city limits, but your kids don't get any more access to it than a Maynard kid does.
Right.
These fields, your kids have priority access to, and actually get subsidized to use them. And so, it's not that high value of cost or barrier of entry for people that are playing in youth sports.
Northeast Metro is actually just outside the city.
Okay.
Good questions. Okay. All right. Reunion Park. This would be a brand new park in the historic colored addition to celebrate the rich history of your African American community and the gathering spaces for residents, and really honors their long-standing reunions and gatherings and really support that. So there's been a lot of work in this area with streets, with stormwater, water, sewer, really to enhance this neighborhood. This would just be the next natural step, creating about a 2-acre park space. Again, just highlighting Pflugerville's rich history, diverse history, and the needs of that community. The proposed budget for this would be $5 million. And let me be clear, this would be for design and construction, not for the acquisition of land. We have a separate bond fund that we're proposing for that, so $5 million would be for design and construction. So you do not have the land for this, but there are very great opportunities for it. It would all have to go through the normal process of all the environmental analyses. However, we expect really strong public engagement and involvement and support for this. Again, just really highlighting that we are celebrating the community history and the gathering spaces and the vision that this park could be for this specific area.
So how big would this park be, and where would you envision getting this land from?
I think about 2 acres in this vicinity.
Yeah, so.
Up to,
Up
Up to.
to 2 acres. So in 2019, right now, the infrastructure is underway throughout this subdivision. And when that was initially envisioned around 2019, we went out and did a study to say, what should be here? How should we improve the roads, parks, things like that? And what we heard a lot about was about the history of families gathering here over decades. And so that's kind of where the idea of Reunion Park came from, was to be able to celebrate and have a space for families to gather, to celebrate the history. A lot from St. Mary's, that continued to come up in our conversations from 7 years ago now. And so it's really kind of filling that engagement component that we got. And so I think it's up to 2 acres. We looked at some parcels throughout here, but we haven't landed on the specific location.
Another thing that's important to talk to about is we believe in, the power of equity and access, and that, there's a 10-minute walk to a park campaign that parks and city leadership both are strongly supportive of. And you'll see most of over 80% of our population is a 10-minute walk to a park. That's part of the quality of life that we provide this community. And we try to make sure those parks have shade and a playground and a great trail connection. This neighborhood has none of that. It has no park within walking distance, has no trail, has no shade, has no connection point in any capacity. And so it's a play desert in some places. It's a spot where there is no gathering value, no social equity, accessible value there. And so they used to, before it was developed, that community used to gather there a lot, which is what we thought of the name Reunion Park. And we just need to get the support and approval and ultimately funding to work with someone to purchase some property there to really highlight not only the ceremonies and the celebrations that community used to have back in the day, but also that everyone in that neighborhood now would have something they can walk to, that they can connect with that's nearby them. That would also bring the home values up around them, because we know what parks near a home does for the value of the home as well. So there's a lot of different things we're going to do.
Yeah, I think I would just add kind of homes and businesses. There's not a lot of people that live there. I think one person lives there today. And so it's not a traditional subdivision in that regard, but it is really envisioned as a gathering space. So as many of you know, we have 2 historic cemeteries there as well. And so lots of great opportunities for for really kind of a small community park, even though it might be the size more of a neighborhood park. Just a very different philosophy behind this particular park.
So with the land not already being owned, how does that affect like approval and timeline? Like what's the process? If the land cannot be procured, like what happens with the
Right, yeah, that's such a good question. So the beauty of the bond as a whole is money gets into, let me, this is something I want to show you. Okay, I want you to look at the bottom bar. So when you're executing projects, let's say we are in November and the voters come out and they want Reunion Park, and let's just say we have a $200 million bond, you spend about 2/3 of your time like planning. You are buying property, you are designing, and then you're spending the last third of your time actually constructing. It's a little bit of the flip on the money. So you're spending money, you're only spending about 1/3 of it through that planning process, and you're spending most of your money during construction. So it all just kind of works out. You will spend a lot of time trying to find that property. And you're negotiating the right price for that property and making sure the city is getting a fair price and the property owner is getting a fair price. In the end, if you don't get the property, you don't spend the money, or you give, it depends on how the bond is passed, you can reallocate that money to, say, Destination Play Space or 1849. So it just depends on how it's written, but this type of discussion is really great for us to take forward in our recommendation to council to do that. That was a very long answer, but I'm really glad you brought that up because it's a real risk, but there's also a real reward if we can make this happen.
So you're saying there's a different bond to procure that land?
Yes, a different fund within this program.
So currently there is no funding for that?
Correct. There's no funding to acquire the land or to design and build the park. But if we can couple all of this together in this bond election, there's a lot more high success we can do.
This would be a part of this bond to actually procure and, okay.
Yes.
But that 5 million, that's not for the...
Might be a good time to just talk land acquisition.
Let's do it. All right. So we are proposing a $7 million budget to acquire land. So this
Outside of this?
Outside of the $5 million for Reunion Park.
Okay, so and where is that? Is that here?
Yes, that's here. Yes,
Oh, okay.
this is the last project.
That's
Yes,
next.
yes.
I see, okay.
Okay, so think land acquisition for parks, okay? And we would love if the voters would approve a $7 million budget to do that. That would include buying up to 2 acres for Reunion Park. And I believe that you would have about 80% of that left over to buy land and get easements for trail connections, okay? The reason why this is in here is for 2 reasons. To buy parkland that you need or you want, or it comes available and it's opportune for you to buy it. And then 2, to get right-of-way and easements for trail linkages that you're missing, okay?
So you said this is like a desert right now when you start talking about 10-minute walk.
Yes, ma'am.
So when I hear 2 acres, is that enough to, I mean, is that like a drop in the desert? Like, does that, or is there more that needs to happen to give more members of the community that 10-minute access?
No, I think, so if 2 acre park that's well designed and near residential and retail and commercial would provide plenty of opportunity for people to feel the quality of life component we're trying to do, especially in that space. So you don't want to build a park for that community historically, but have to build it somewhere so far away that anyone that associates that community to that spot, it's 15 minutes away or whatever. So in that spot, we're working in a very small swath, and so we think 2 acres is right sized for that. And speaking to the land acquisition, we think land acquisition is a healthy thing that you attach to any bond for parks, because if you don't, then the trails isn't really what you're asking, because some of that is land acquisition. The 5 million for Reunion Park isn't what you're asking for, because some of that's for land acquisition. So you don't really get a $5 million Reunion Park, you get a $2.5 million Reunion Park, because you had to spend $2.5 million to purchase the property. And so same thing with the last bond, we had land acquisition, so when we built the rec center, and when we built some of these other things, the money from land acquisition didn't come out of that prop, it came out of this bond. And if you don't call on it, if you don't need it, it could be reallocated somewhere else, or it doesn't have to be called upon at all, or when, like Ange said, some incredible opportunity opens up, you know, that provides the city flexibility to say, hey, maybe this really cool, then the next parcel of land next to 1849 opened up, or whatever it is, and that can go through council approval and all that stuff.
But that land acquisition may also provide opportunities to do trail linkage.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
That's right. Okay,
'Cause
so
there's
that
gonna
would
be
expand that
access and
opportunity
easements,
for
yeah,
people
and
that
we're
have
always gonna be
access.
chasing those things with this drill.
And one piece we didn't talk about trails in Reunion Park, but with land acquisition, so we have a piece in our Unified Development Code for parkland dedication. So new developments have to provide parkland or fees in lieu of parkland.
Yeah.
Well, we still require that in the ETJ, but we're typically not requiring that they give us land because we don't want to maintain parks that are out in ETJ. It's not financially feasible. In an extraterrestrial.
Territorial.
It's outer space. That's right, me too. And so we'll typically have a pot of money from development that happens in the extraterrestrial jurisdiction without the land. So the land acquisition can sometimes, like Ange said, if a piece of land comes available, just like the 1849 property came available, the city had the opportunity to purchase that. If we have the opportunity to purchase land for parks in the eastern portion of our city limits, and then we have the development dollars to develop it, we can purchase land with this money, develop it with the money we've received from new development.
And speaking to the importance of land acquisition, so 1849 Park was purchased because they were looking for an opportunity to do this sports complex in a different spot, but they were having a tough time with the feasibility of it all. And then 1849 opened up, but they didn't have a bond at that time. They had passed the parks bond, but they didn't have a bond at that time that had land acquisition. So they actually had to pull from the lake funds. You know, and so the previous 2 bonds ago, in 2014 or 16 or whatever that bond was, they had to pull from some of those lake funds to be able to purchase this 1849 property so they could use it later for the quality of life component it is. But that was at the expense of something else, right? That was at the expense of improvements to the lake. But when you do land acquisition with your bond, what you do is you run those parallel and you're not pulling from a project, once again, Reunion Park, trail improvements, destination play, whatever, to then purchase land or property.
So out of the 7 million, how much is it for these various other parks or trails?
We think 2 of the acres would go to the Reunion, and then we think the rest potentially would be for purchasing easements and access points and right-of-ways to improve our trail system, to continue to work on trail improvement.
If this were to be approved, then any acquisition likely will go through a process to go before a bond committee, hopefully made up of you all, if it gets approved, and it would be approved, like you all would review and approve or recommend that the monies would be used to purchase X property or X easement or X right-of-way. So it wouldn't be defined, but as it comes up, the bond committee would be able to review it.
You mentioned there was 1 resident, is that what I understood, in the entire property right now?
In historic colored edition.
But like the church that's
Right, so we
there
didn't
every
think of it
Sunday
as
and
like
things like
as a park that serves a neighborhood.
Right.
Right, it's serving the businesses, the community, the church, all within that area.
Storytelling and historical.
So,
That's right.
So my second part of the question is, so who are we buying land from?
We don't know yet. We have not identified the parcel yet.
But it's somewhere in this red square.
Yes, that is our goal.
Do we have a sense of how many people this is going to potentially serve? To me, all I'm hearing is there's 1 person that lives nearby. What are we actually talking about?
Well, it's intended to serve the community. When we
Right.
did the engagement in 2019, we got tons and tons of feedback from the community across the city. And
Do we have a
so,
sense of how many people are going to be served within that 10-minute
the
walk?
10-minute walk, do you,
Yeah, we could probably
at it.
pull that up, yeah. Trust for Public Land will score every community and will show where your play deserts are, where the areas that you're needing to purchase parkland. This is one of those, but we can try to pull an area to show how many. Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, there are a lot of apartments to the north of that.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
of I think there is some other homes or I think some zoning's happening potentially for future homes coming, yeah.
That's great.
My only question on the 7 million is, you're saying that that's to not, you keep that separate, that way you're not infringing on the other bond cost,
Yeah.
okay? Of that 7 million, how much of it would be going on an initial estimate for Reunion Park as opposed to the other activities?
20%.
20%.
I believe 20% would go to
So-
park. A fifth.
2.4 million? Is that what we're saying?
1.4 million.
1.4. That's why I'm in Parks and Rec.
And that's it. That's an estimate.
Because you don't have any particular,
That's
anything
correct.
identified as yet.
That's right, sir. Yes. One thing just to reiterate, one thing I love about having a land acquisition fund separate from all of your other funds, it provides a level of transparency and accountability in a bond program. Because when you lump acquisition into like Reunion Park, if we had done that, sometimes you see that whole fund being used to buy the parkland, you don't get a whole lot of actual park out of it. This separates it, and I feel like this is more transparent to the community. So,
And with the-
this is intentional.
And in terms of like, so let's say the 5 million for reunion passes, the 7 million for land acquisition, in terms of priority, it would be purchase the land first and then determine how much is left to do other projects.
That's right. And then the next.
So it's not do the other projects and see what's left. Okay.
Right, and the next step on that was, once the land is acquired, you were doing the conceptual plan for the park, and you were doing open houses, and you were meeting locally with stakeholders and things of that nature.
And there's other opportunities. 1849 Park is 330 acres, but the historic Pflugerville Family Cemetery is just outside that, right? That's owned by a developer. So if we wanted to purchase those 3 acres, so when we're celebrating the Pfluger family as we continue phase 3, maybe we purchase that from the developer. So there's these small opportunities well to do that once again, if you didn't have this land acquisition, would just eat into what would have been the cost of the park improvements.
1849, though, is also a good example of the need for these dollars for trail gaps. So there's a lot of sparse development out there, and they're required to put in trails where it's on the trails master plan on their property, but then a lot of times those don't meet. So there's a lot of trails leading to 1849 Park. Right now, there's not a lot of trails that are connecting, even when we develop the north portion.
And
of
who's
1849.
responsible for that?
We're responsible for purchasing some of those properties, or at least easements to connect. Unless there's a development in between.
If you've ever been on a sidewalk and the sidewalk just stops, and then it picks up, that's.
But it's still
potentially-
part of the developer's responsibility to
Yeah.
provide parkland.
To get you to that point. And then
That's potentially a farmer's property who is waiting to sell to a development, but this development on this side has developed and they put a sidewalk in, and that side has put the sidewalk in, there's this gap. Same thing with trails. You have a developer that puts the trail on their section of the residential development, but it doesn't connect all the way through, and so this provides those opportunities in some capacity as well.
On the topic of people waiting to sell, is it typical to bring a bond for acquisition before a space is known? Is that just like a thing because you guys aren't sure yet, or you don't want to, cause a land run on those remaining parcels?
Right, you would definitely, you're trying to make sure that you're not saying the number out loud.
Okay.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And by the time 2020 bond passed, it went in before COVID, came out after COVID. Some of those numbers had jumped quite a bit as well. And so it's just one of those things where, and you're not calling on most of these funds from day one. right? And so land acquisition is maybe one of the first things, because you're trying to get that land as quick as you can, as cheap as you can, because they're not making any more of it, this land, and it gets a little bit more expensive every year. But yeah, we wouldn't want to call out a specific number, because A, we wouldn't know it, and B, then they would know the number we would be working on.
Gotcha.
I have a question about the 7 million budget for
Yes.
the land. So if we have 7 million budget for the land, and then let's say for the design and construction 5 million, and then when we bought the land, there was some balance on there, and we found out that the 5 million is not going to be enough for the. So do we take out of that? Or?
No, that is such a good question. Okay, yes. There are ways to do that. And it is how we set up our bonds and how we pass this. But let me formulate my thoughts. Usually, when we go forward into a bond election, we'll have Proposition A, and that will be, let's just say for now, this is parks. And it will include Reunion Park and this land acquisition and maybe one more. And let's say there is that balancing act and we're short $200,000. The bond committee does have the opportunity to review that request from staff to say, may I please use from the land acquisition and transfer to Reunion Park? And that could be a recommendation that goes to council, and council has the authority to approve or disapprove that. So there is that flexibility. It is not automatic. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
So this is a great transition. So we've talked about destination play space, we talked about 1849, reunion, and land acquisition. And we've got one more, and that's trail improvements. This is your other citywide projects. Trail improvements, there is not one location I am saying you need to build right now. It is across the city. You all are the trail capital of Texas. In order to maintain that, you guys are continuously chasing developer-built trails, new parks. And so this couples really well with your land acquisition fund. So we're proposing $10 million for this. Trails are very important to Pflugerville. The design of trails in Pflugerville are very important. They need to meet ADA and PRO-AG standards. Every time a development is built, they're putting in sidewalks and trails. Guaranteed there's going to be a gap between where you all have a trail and where they have built. Again, that land acquisition is first to make that connection. The trail improvement is the second part of that. That is the design and construction of that actual trail missing connection. Again, it is important that we have these in different buckets for financial transparency and accountability. And again, this is part of the beauty of a bond committee. After it's been approved, Shane and Jeff will come up here and beg and plead, please let me use $100,000 of that to connect park here to street there. And that is part of the process. And so that's what this fund would be used for. Also, going back to what Jeff said, when a development happens and they are submitting a fee in lieu of land dedication, this is a great use of those funds as well. So you've got some compounding opportunities here with your land acquisition and then trail improvements to use these additional supplemental funds that they have available that maybe aren't enough to build a huge playground or not enough to buy and construct. Now we've got opportunities to really make something happen.
Yeah, so a city, especially one that trails are as important as they are to this city, operates off of a trails master plan. So when new development comes in, they know this is an approved document that says the trail needs to go through this property, so you've got to provide that. We just finished our mobility master plan last year, had that adopted. The mobility master plan incorporates both roadway transportation and pedestrian transportation. So we have a newly updated trails master plan as part of the MMP, and we have been working with an engineer to line out what the next 5 years of us constructing what we're going to be responsible for in terms of trail gaps, but also new trails. So development doesn't provide all trails that are a part of that. Sometimes it's never going to be developer driven, and so the city's required to put those in, or we've adopted that, so we're going to put those in at some point. So over the next 5 years, we have about $12 million in projects that were prioritized as part of that mobility master plan with extensive public engagement and then council and other board and commission approval. And so we have this lined out, what these funds are going to be spent on, that developers are not going to provide, whether it's gaps or new trails. So we're asking for 10 million, but like Ange just said, we also have other ways to fund some of those projects, but we're not going to get all the way there in the next 10 years without this additional funding.
What are some of the highest priority connections?
I'll have to get that to you. I don't know it off the top of my head, but yeah, we're starting to work on some of those this year, so we can.
That's a good question.
Can you talk a little bit about fee in lieu of land?
Yeah, just generally. Yeah.
In terms of, you said there's budget for that.
On this? Yeah, so the city has made a commitment, even some bond funds, there was trail improvements approved in the 2020 bond, maybe even prior to that, in the earlier bond. But we've also used general fund and some, I'm not sure if we use parkland dedication fee in lieu on that.
So
but
parkland dedication, real quickly, if there's 15 people around this table, and we're the whole city, and every one of us have an acre, so there's 15 residents and 15 acres of land. And then we come in, troublemakers. All of a sudden, we want to be in this great.
You don't want that.
Right. So now there's 17 people with 15 acres.
Right.
Parkland dedication and parkland development requires us to either give land, an acre each, now we're generalizing this, and develop it, or give money that the city can then combine and do that later on. So parkland dedication, parkland development are two buckets that we get from development when they sometimes can't, or because our Parks Commission doesn't want what they're providing, and we put that in a bucket. So we have those funds that we can use in the zone that development happens in, or in any community or, what's my community park or the other?
Regional park?
Regional park, yeah. So we can use it in a community or regional park space as well. So like the lake can receive funding from any development because everyone has the potential to drive to the lake, park at the lake, and enjoy the lake. So any development can do that. But a smaller pocket park can only be enhanced by a development near that actual pocket park or near that area.
So there are restrictions in terms of the transfer of funds.
There are, absolutely.
Yeah, and so to speak to sort of the budget, our city has committed about $1 million a year in trail improvements, even outside of the bond. Now, most of that over the last 5 years was funded through the 2020 bond. But again, to tackle the mobility master plan, we've got a pretty robust set of gaps, needed trails that we simply can't tackle with general fund dollars or even the money we receive from development.
So in terms of what you're proposing with the other parks and trail improvements, like how far forward are you thinking this is going to take you where you would need bonds? Is this, this will get us a couple years and we might need to go for another bond? Is this a 5-year? Like how far are you projecting this to be?
I believe
5-6 years.
5-6 years.
Okay.
To follow up on that, how much of the 2020 Parks bond was earmarked for trails? Even though that was 5 to 6 years
It
ago.
should probably be on the website that we can find, but yeah, it was.
I think $6 million was for trail improvements.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I don't have that. But somewhere on the website we posted, I think
Yeah, I'll fact check myself here.
$1.6 million
Okay.
was in the 2020 bond, I believe, for trails specifically. Do you think that's low? Okay,
But you might be right.
okay.
we had 7.5 for,
1.6 for trail improvements from the Proposition B.
then we had 7.5 for
7.4 for neighborhood
neighborhoods,
parks.
yeah.
5.6 land acquisition.
That's what I was.
And 11 million phase 2 at the lake, 1849, 15.2, and some destination playscape, which is replacement.
1.6. That's
Gotcha.
right. Thank you. That's great.
If you want to see that on the website, pflugervilletx.gov/bonds. That's what I found.
Of those funds, is all of that spent?
We are finalizing Kelly Lane Park, which would be the last of the neighborhood park portion of that bond. We did all the trails already.
Done trails, about to finish neighborhood parks.
About to finish 18.
Land acquisition has been spent. Lake Pflugerville Phase 2 design is starting. 1849 Park Phase 2 is wrapping up. And then destination play is the last from Prop 2.
So the only thing outstanding is, or that we're working on right now, is destination play and
Lake Pflugerville Phase
Lake
2.
Pflugerville.
How much is east side versus west side in terms of the last bond issue? And what are we looking at this time?
That's a great question. I do not have those numbers for this one, but I will have those for the third meeting when we really talk about the financial implications. And we'll be breaking down different packages.
When you think east side, west side, it's 130 kind of your,
Yeah, however you normally define it,
Okay.
because I know you have to explain it to your citizens
Yeah.
every day.
yeah. So that's why it's good to understand, like, that's kind of what we think of, like, if someone were to say, I live on the east side, we think of 130. Just making sure y'all, if that's the transfer.
Well, if that's-
When the rain comes in, it stops at 1:30.
Sometimes it stops at 685.
Well, that's 1:30.
Well, yeah, but you gotta take that road down.
Yeah, I mean, I think
It's pretty evenly split. Our neighborhood parks were evenly split right down the middle between improvements on the east and west side. Lake Pflugerville is obviously on the east side. 1849 Park on the east side. Destination play on the west. And then the trail improvements are going to be across the city. I don't have the specific use of that 1.6 million, but
That's great. It's a good question, though. We can put that together.
Okay. We do need to jump into our one facility project. One thing to keep in mind as we move into our next couple of meetings for these trail and land acquisition proposed budgets, they are able to go up, they are able to go down. I'm not advocating to go down, of course, but just know that when we get into this tax applications, it may be something we can play with a little bit. Just know that in full transparency, okay? Alrighty, so we've talked about destination play space, phase 2. We've talked about 1849 Park phase 3, completing that park. We've talked about Reunion Park being a brand new park. We've talked about citywide initiatives, land acquisition, and trail improvements. Now we have one facility project we want to talk about, and that would be a new pod animal shelter. So what we're proposing here is a $20 million new pause animal shelter. This would be a new adoption building and office, and it would be actually located near the new recreational center off of East Main. It would not be located in its current location. The current location you can see is on the left, and what it's looking like now. And there's a lot of flooding issues here. We do have Rhonda and Terry here to help if there's any sort of questions. But the adoption facility is a former open air fleet garage, and it floods during rain events. And it requires animals to be relocated and be cleaned. The public cannot enter in this facility. It's very noisy and stressful for the animals as well. It's not really conducive for convincing someone to adopt an animal and making it a very pleasant experience because the animals are also very stressed. It's operating beyond its intended capacity. And there's a lot of vision to do programs and services here from the PAWS staff. And there's a lot of potential to bring in the community and to interact with the animals, but this is just not that facility to be able to do that. The current property is a former wastewater treatment plant. There's a lot of complications here. It's not the ideal location to build a new facility. So the risk is very high. And in general, they get cited, Texas Health and Safety Code. They are doing their very best. I know they are, and I can see the passion from Rhonda and her staff. And I can see their passion and their vision for this new hospice. So I'm going to quickly go through some of your slides real quick and then give them a chance to ask questions.
All right, so this is our,
Rhonda, just real quick, if we could just narrow down. So when we say near the new rec center, our proposal is for this facility to be on the current rec center site. So it's just down the trail to Destination Play into downtown. It's to repurpose the current rec center location with the animal shelter.
Okay, hold on a
like
second.
demolish and rebuild.
Yeah.
Oh, from ground up?
You're saying is that the one off of Manual?
Yes.
Okay, not East Main, because this is saying.
That's the address of the new rec center, so it's just
I am
down the
so
street.
sorry.
Yeah, the current rec center on Emmanuel, the goal is to use that property, remove the rec center and repurpose it with a new animal shelter.
What else is by it currently? By
Lutheran
the rec
Church is
center.
next door, and Bowles Park is on the other side of it.
I'm sorry, Rhonda, go ahead.
All right, if you can go, all right, this is our dog adoption building. It currently has 24 kennels. They're indoor only. They're half the size they should be for a stray incoming dog, and this is our long-term holding. So kennels are very small. The building's in very bad shape. It's been repurposed in 2015 to be a temporary building for adoption for 2 years, and we're entering year 11 in it. You see the water there, that's one of the floods that we've had there. As soon as we moved into this building, we were already full and having to utilize our stray intake for adoption dogs because we didn't have enough kennel space to begin with. It's very high stress, high noise. It's safety issues for the dogs because they're in very close proximity, and for staff and volunteers trying to get dogs in and out. And we no longer bring the public in that building at all because of we don't want people getting bit from high stress in there. Our dog and cat adoption areas are all old fleet buildings or old garages that have been renovated. The cat rooms, cat stray, cat intake, and our cat adoption rooms were all repurposed. They have drywall, they have improper surfaces, we've had mold issues in them. If you can hit that longer photo there, that's actually a video to play.
There you go.
So this building, this is the dog adoption building, takes on water several times a year. It sits lower than the parking lot and all the areas around it, so everything just kind of starts flooding in every time we have a heavy rain, sometimes a few inches. And on this particular day, our dog walkers were there. This is them instead of out walking dogs, they're trying to clear flooding, and then staff is in there trying to clear flooding. This is the back parking lot that sits higher than the building. Everything flows to the building and comes inside. So every time we get a heavy rain, it's kind of a panic on. The kennels are raised in there, but this was not designed originally. It was a garage. So that's a battle that we have ongoing, and it's just not adequate for proper housing. What happens if we run out of space, and we've been out of space for years, and we've done all kinds of things trying to reduce our intake and manage it without having to euthanize for space. But if several times a year we're hitting where we're already over capacity, and we're having to try and make pleas for fosters, for more adopters trying to get animals out to rescue. Rescues, only less than 3% of the animals get pulled by rescues. So we have to make a decision. Are we going to close our intake, which impacts the community that we're not taking in strays from off the streets? Or do we euthanize for space, which means we're euthanizing healthy animals that can be adopted, and then we lose volunteers, we lose staff. we lose our reputation in the community. We have not euthanized for space in 14 years. We're critically close. And so a new facility is the only thing that's going to stop us from that. And if we don't get it, then we're going to have to make up our minds. Are we going to euthanize for space or close intake? This is our current office space, our lobby, this little tiny square in the middle. That's the area you can walk into to talk to staff, to meet an animal right there in that little closed quarter. It was originally a garage changed into a training room space, which was that far right photo. We had a mobile home, an old construction mobile home that we were in. They tore it down and they put us in the training room for office space. So we've got 2 cubicles up front, and then the far picture on the left, that one has 2 supervisors in that room on different corners of the room. That back closet in that room is a supervisor in the closet, and then the tables that are in a square there, that's our meeting space for staff to eat. Also, the public comes through there. We interview the people for jobs there. We have staff meetings there. All the meantime, public is traveling through, in and out of this room during our meetings and our interviews, going into the cat adoption room because it's the only way to get in there. So we're all jammed into that little space, and I mean it's pretty chaotic. So our recommendation is a new facility at the recreation center site.
Can we go ahead and vote on that now?
Actually, I did want to ask a couple of questions. Number
Sure.
one, this isn't the first time it came up. It was dropped out of the last.
So 2015.
What happened there?
So 2015, they were proposing a shelter and a police substation at the Lake Pflugerville location. I think they had 8 acres there that they were going to make by the dam out there, and that failed. I want to say by 2%, something like that. There was a lot of people screaming they didn't want it by the lake, and there's neighborhoods and stuff right there. I think there's some people that didn't want it right there where all the lake activities were happening. That put us where we became critical for space and have remained that way. And we've done all kinds of things to try and reduce our intake, control our intake, and not have to euthanize for space, but we're out of options at this point.
Is there any risk of that at the Emmanuel location that y'all have pushed back?
As far as, we could build a big enough facility at that location. There is, it's already parkland and stuff there. There is a neighborhood behind that area. And usually we already have, at our existing location, we've got fencing and stuff, but they generally build kind of a wall structure that'll be like 8 feet tall to knock down noise and stuff. And most of the activity there is going to be daytime. So hopefully we'll have minor impact on the neighborhood there.
So what would this 20 million cover? Is this like demolishing the building?
Demolishing the building and a complete
planning
new
and building a new facility?
design,
All of it?
all of it.
How much was it in 2015?
10.9 maybe?
So we'll use that as an example of penny wise and pound foolish.
It
costs twice as much.
Imagine what'll be
So
in the
I want to say the price per square foot back then was in excess of $300, and it is way more than that now. Of course, we had a police substation and other things that were included in that 10.9. But yeah, the longer it goes, the more price goes up on that. And shelters are very, it's not like building a regular facility. It's somewhere between hospital type and, I don't know, prison. I'm not sure what to say there.
And also, what will it allow you to do in terms of Pflugerville? We're the leader in parks.
Mhm.
That's one of the things we focus on, right? Okay, but you go to like the Phoenix Animal Shelter. You go there's animal shelters that are death pits, and there are others that
Sure.
are
So we already have an excellent save rate. It's 95 to 97% save rate every year, and we've been able to maintain that. But it's getting harder and harder as we go, and we're fighting, trying to keep animals out. We've had to work very, very hard on our return to owner rates, which are, I'm told, one of the best in the nation for our return to owners on animals being reclaimed from the shelter. We have to push that, and that's something you want to continue going forward, because you don't want to build a facility and fill it up and then, oh, I need more. No, utilize your space well and try and continue your programs on getting animals out quickly. But it will keep us from having to euthanize for space. It will open up where we have space that the public can come in. If you show up there, you can't walk around and look at dogs. You have to look at photos on a board and explain to us what you're looking for, and we tell you which dogs we can show to you and bring them out one at a time. In a properly built facility that's built safely and designed properly, then the public can go through and see the animals and then talk to staff about ones they're really interested in. So you have opportunities for them to visually see all of your dogs. Right now they can look at cats, and that's it.
What is the volume that's...
So going forward, you're trying to build a facility that's going to last us 20 years and not have to hopefully expand for 20 years. So I don't remember exactly what our square footage is right now. It's maybe 8, and we're talking about like 18,600, something like that. So, of course, we're office space is all crammed into one area, but our dog adoption is tiny, and we need 24 kennels. We had like 45 dogs up for adoption at one time, and taking up most of our stray intake space in our stray building, plus all the adoption building space. And then we had dogs off-site that were threatening coming in too, that come back from foster. So it would allow us to have all of our adoption animals housed properly together, and then free up stray intake space for taking in strays and continuing to be able to serve our public properly on that.
When I asked the volume, I'm sorry, let me just finish clarification. So the volume that you currently have at the shelter, our population is now, 80,000 people? Has the dog population, cat population grown?
So it was going up every year, but we had to make steps to try and curb our intake. We started implementing, you can't just show up and turn in your own pet anymore. You have to schedule an appointment, you have to pay fees, you have to pay more fees if the animal's not spayed or neutered, you have to pay more fees if it has behavioral or health problems, trying to put it back on the owners to rehome their pets. And that reduced our intake some. Let me see, we had quite a few things that we had to implement. We've added a home-to-home platform for owners to try and rehome their pet first. That's required before you can schedule an appointment to bring your pet in. And there's a waiting of anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. If things aren't crazy, if it's getting very busy, then we've had as much as like a 3.5 to 4 month wait to turn in your own pet to the shelter. And so trying to reduce and get our public to take more responsibility on their own was a big thing. We also decreased our stray hold used to be 5 days. It's now 3 days, so people have less time to get their pet out of the shelter before it gets vetted and up for adoption and goes to a home again. So that trying to free up space. We quit accepting unadoptable animals. Used to, people could turn in their dog that had bitten 20 people, and we had to deal with euthanizing it or whatever. That's an owner's job to take care of. So we only accept surrenders of pets that are adoptable now. So we won't just take anything. If your dog is in really bad shape and end of life or cancer, you need to go see a vet instead of bring it to us to deal with.
And Rhonda, do you mind if we go ahead and get Noelle's question real quick?
Right.
Yes.
My question is, on top of the project, obviously every year it gets delayed, the cost of doing improvements increases. But it also mentioned that it's not meeting current code with health and safety. So are there also like fines being associated?
So they don't
keeping-
fine you, but they can shut you down.
Okay.
And one of the old buildings that has already been torn down out there got shut down. And so it doesn't have, it's supposed to have surfaces that are impermeable to moisture, which means you can wash down all your areas that animals are held in. And you can't now, and those hold disease that causes additional problems. The flooring and dog adoption, all of that needs to be stripped off, and the only way to strip it and redo the flooring in there is to remove all the kennels, which means you have to close intake and it'd be down for at least a couple of months just to fix problems that are going to just continue to happen because the building wasn't built from the ground up as a shelter should have been. So it's a heavy labor-intensive area on those areas that are all remodels and used for animal holding, and its facilities spends a ton of time at our facility repairing things all day, every day. They're called out over all kinds of things going wrong with the current facility.
So I think we have time. Jesse, do you have one more question?
Oh,
on this
yeah,
one?
sorry to
Okay.
hog the mic with remedial procedural questions, but given the existing space is a lot of retrofitted buildings and there's a pretty substantial city facility on the proposed space, is there any risk that 20 million to demolish and build new could turn into 20 million to renovate and fit into the new space? You kind of like where you're at now.
So we're not proposing using that existing rec center.
Cool.
Because, stay with what it would be a nightmare and probably more than that to remodel it because it needs to be built with proper drainage, proper surfaces, and the only way to do that is really from the ground up. So
Thank you for asking that.
yeah,
Thank you.
There's not really an option to remodel the existing building there.
That's great.
What's the capacity that you need? You said it's for 20 years, so.
So I won't be here from 20 years from now, but if we have people that continue on the trajectory on trying to keep things where you're just not letting people turn in things like crazy, you're trying to manage your numbers, you don't want to go back to, you can walk in and give up your pet like that. Disposable where you're getting filled up with owned pets instead of incoming strays. If we continue to manage that properly, then it should go forward that far, unless our population explodes in ways that we're not expecting.
Well, and that was what I was trying to get at.
It's a great question. We are at 7:50, and I want to be very appreciative of your time and respectful of that. What we are going to do now is we are going to switch to an evaluation time. So Ryan's going to lead us through this. We went very quickly through all of these projects, and there's a lot to take in. I want you, to trust your gut on some of the scoring criteria. I want you to know that we are evaluating every project by the same criteria, and then when we do this again in 2 weeks for transportation and transportation in downtown, you're going to see the exact same criteria. And we will rank and file these things together, and we're going to take all of this input and all of the concern and all of the enthusiasm that you have brought to the table today. So if I can just briefly recap, you all talked about things being inclusive, shaping the future, you want to be involved, having projects that bring in tourism, shaping the future of Pflugerville. Think of those things as you are scoring these items. There's a lot of vision, there's a lot of value, there's a lot of things that could really improve and be best for Pflugerville, improve safety and the improvement of city services. So I think all of the vision that you all have, I think you see in some way in a lot of these projects. So I'm going to hand it over to Ryan.
All right, perfect. We're going to try using a tool called Menti. If you haven't used it before, we're going to help walk you through it. So the first thing you'll need is your phone to participate. And what you'll do is you open up the camera and aim at the QR code. And I'm monitoring the number of folks that have joined. It looks like we have about, well, it says 8, but I think we had some tests earlier. So I'll just give it a moment. Yep. And you'll see on your phone it brings you to a Menti page, and once I start to click through it, it'll change. Your phone will change with it. Is everyone there?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
11.
Perfect.
That's great. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to drive this.
Okay. So as Ange mentioned, we're going to take a look at each of the projects. Okay. And using that evaluation criteria that has been established here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of buckets, right? And we're gonna rank each project, 1 being low, 5 being high, as it relates to each of these elements.
And if I wanted to mention, would like staff not to vote. I would only like for you
to vote, please.
And
put your phone down.
This is anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
Your scoring tonight is we can't break it down. We don't have who's participating. We can see then average scores, and you'll actually see that as we go. So first project, Destination Play Space Phase 2. Let's rank it. In each of those buckets, you can slide the ranking scale from 1 to 5 as it relates to strategic alignment, feasibility and confidence, community and stakeholder benefit, equity and safety.
Ryan, are we voting on what you guys presented tonight, what we think you can do, or what we think should happen with these parks?
More of the latter.
More of the latter.
Yeah.
So think about your neighborhood, your families, your community, what they would think. And your opinion matters too.
Quick
what would
question.
you support?
Strategic alignment
Yes.
is really something that I need more clarification because I don't know how this does align with your strategy.
That's right.
I don't know, how can you help with that?
I would think something that would rate high strategic alignment is something that's been on the city CIP for a while, or it's part of the council's vision to be inclusive and to be the trail capital of Texas. Just something that has been part of the master plan, and all of them have been on the CIP and master plans. Yeah. But just how strong is it strategically for the city?
Can you give us some guidance on that?
So on each of these, I think all of them, from a staff perspective, we looked at that. That's probably one of the top things we look at first.
Right.
Do they strategically align? We don't like to bring things forward that aren't in strategic alignment. They're on our plans, they're on our CIP. And I think for all of these projects that you saw tonight is that what we saw, not only from our 2040 comprehensive plan, but also our 5-year strategic plan, which was done last year, was to really kind of push the envelope, be forward thinking, think about our population and our community, not just in the next 5 years, but in the next 20. And so if you think that these projects fit the needs for our community in the next 5, 15, 20 years, it's in alignment with our overall goals and vision for the community.
For
And so,
instance, if we had the new shelter in Bowles Place became a dog park.
one more time?
You're just staring at me.
No, what did you, I didn't understand the dog park thing that you said.
In relationship to having a new dog shelter, pet shelter, if part of Bowles Park become a dog park.
So that's something that could come out in kind of the destination play space engagement part. Yeah. When we're working through those designs. So from a staff perspective, when we evaluated these, all ranked high on strategic alignment.
Another thing you could put into this is Does it address the demand that you have now on your city facilities? Does it set you up for growth in the future? Then if you can say yes to those, I think it aligns very well strategically.
Thank you.
It's also in the packets that you all got, there are statements about where there might be, how it aligns with each of these criteria.
Okay.
Yep, right there, Mark.
On this criteria. Yeah.
Yeah. Folks, we're not locking in tonight on
Yes.
This is just kind of.
This is your one chance.
Gut check, your gut check.
Yeah.
You're trying to keep us here all night, aren't you?
Gets us an animal shelter. I'll do it.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's a good snapshot of where we stand on it tonight. We can come back to it. We can look at the results from the voting totals, and if we have questions, we can look at those.
What might be helpful, maybe not for tonight, but for next session, is for y'all to maybe just do even a quick, what was the process to get things to come before the committee? Like, what kind of internal discussions? Because what Emily just shared, I'm like, okay, seemed like that was a first level vetting before things came to this. And I was kind of wondering at what point, when does it flip from an internal city discussion to this?
Okay, we can absolutely do that.
So I think for the next one, that would be helpful for me to know what was your due process before it came here.
It looks like almost everyone submitted a vote.
But just
Any others lingering? Mark, you good?
I'm still voting, is that
okay? Yep.
Take your time, take your time.
Yep.
Love it.
That's why I'm saying 57. He almost did it. He almost.
All right, I'm gonna show we're gonna look at the responses here. So generally towards the higher end, feasibility and confidence may brought down the average score a little bit to 3.8. Okay?
Okay.
Let's go to the next one. 1849. You shouldn't have to rescan. Your phone should just be following along. Let me know if you have any issues with that.
I wasn't the last one.
Any others?
Maybe lingering one. It's okay. No worries. Are we good? Do we need just a little bit more time?
Okay, we're good.
All right. Reunion Park. Okay, here we go. Yes.
Yeah. It's great input. Thank you.
The trail improvements. That was the general.
Citywide.
Citywide trail improvements. All right.
Yeah.
Very high.
Trail capital of Texas, for sure.
Yep.
It's great.
Okay. And then the land acquisition.
No, not yet.
All right. Going responses for land acquisition.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the pause animal shelter.
Yeah.
Okay.
No response though.
Right.
That's great.
Okay.
That's great.
That's it.
Appreciate everyone's feedback. Having that gut check on these numbers really helps us kind of like put all these projects on an even playing field. Again, we will do the same exercise in 2 weeks for transportation in downtown. The same kind of criteria. We will end up breaking file these and we'll have a very good discussion of like kind of like a priority list. So we are super excited to compile all the notes that we've received and all of your input. Hearing your vision for the city really helps shapes the next meeting as well. So appreciate everyone's input. This was incredibly valuable, and this was a huge step for Pflugerville, I think, to get us to that next step. Go for it.
Well, and so just thank you again for participating in this process. It is incredibly important to us to get these moving forward. Our next meeting is March 23rd. It'll be in the same room. 6, we'll try to wrap up around 8, so not to keep you all night. And certainly, Walker's kind of your main point of contact, and so if you have a question between now and then, feel free to shoot him an email. We'll get back to you before then. Otherwise, we appreciate your time. Please grab a snack if you didn't already, or if you want another one, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you. You can take those, absolutely.